Okay, good morning to one and all. Welcome back to political class and session number one of the day. Only one session is there today, right? Yes or no? Of course. Okay, so in the last class we discussed about Jayaprakash Narayanan and what? The total revolution, right? Yes or no? Read the textbook? No answers. Aizirya, Sneha, Grishma, read or not? Okay, that's it. Fine. Please read the text where regularly I'm telling you people that after the class, it is very important to read the text here. Okay, so today we want to start with the causes of the total revolution, right? Yesterday I just told you what are the main causes behind what you can say the total revolution there basically. Okay, so Jayaprakash total revolution can be traced to the socio economic, education, moral, and political maladies, diseases. Okay, clear or not? He basically fought against these social issues there, these problems that existed in the Indian society even after the independence, right? We know that Jayaprakash Narayan is a famous freedom fighter and he participated in the freedom movement. Okay, but he came to know that after independence also, these problems that existed in the society. What are the problems? Social problems, economic problems, the problem that related with education, the problem with the, I mean, that is related with the morality of the society and the political issues. Okay, maladies, diseases that exist in the Indian society. So basically, he fought against these problems. Clear or not? Okay, we got independence, but still these problems are existed in the society. Okay, he gave his note to total revolution in his book, The Prison Diary. So underline the MCQ question. The book that was written by Jayaprakash Narayan. What is that? Prison Diary. Prison Diary. Okay, written during his arrest and the solitary confinement, in which he talks about why he gave call for the total revolution. So already we discussed it's a combination of seven different revolutions, right? The total revolution is a combination of seven different revolutions. What are they? Please observe here. Okay, and check in your notes also. Don't skip these points. That's very important for the examination. I already told you that the concept of total revolution. It's a combination of seven different revolutions. Okay, what are those revolutions? Okay, hope the screen says is okay for you. Okay, first of all, social revolution. So you know that we got independence. Still, this problem is existing in the society. So in society, what is the problem basically? Basically related with caste discrimination, untouchability, like that problems existed. Okay, so he wanted to fight against this problem to establish equality and brotherhood in the society, right? Okay, basically he fought against the social troubles there. He want to maintain equality, right? Yes or no? Elvina, what happened?
Nothing, sir.
Are you feeling watching any horror movie or something?
No, sir.
Okay. So tell me, what is that? The same thing. Okay. So he fought against what? The social inequalities. Okay. Social inequalities. Okay. So this is related with the social revolution. Want to make some changes in the society, right or not? Want to eradicate the problem of untouchability, caste discrimination. Okay. That's the thing related with the social revolution. Next one, economic revolution. At that time, we know that. Okay. We got independence in the year 1947, and the Congress Party ruled up to 1977, nearly 30 years. Okay, clear or not? But the first general election, that's in the year 1951. Okay, keep that idea in your mind. Okay, so generally speaking, so nearly 3 decades, Congress Party ruled the country, but there is no changes. It is almost like the British rule, right? That's what the idea of Jayaprakash Narayan. Okay, so secondly, it is related with the economic revolution. What do you want here? Decentralization of economy and making efforts to bring about economic equality by taking village as the unit of development. So the Congress government give more importance for the development of urban area, basically cities there. So as per the idea of Jayaprakash Narayan, not only cities, the rural area also want to develop, right? Villages also want to develop. Okay, so it's going to be decentralization of resources basically. Okay, not only the people in the city want to enjoy the resources, and the same time the people in the villages also want to enjoy the resources. Resources is for everyone. Okay, a just use of resources. Clear or not? That's what the idea of Jayaprakash Narayanan, and he made that through this revolution. What is that? Economic revolution. Economic revolution. Clear or not? Everyone want to develop. Not only the rich people, even the poor people also have the what you can say condition. Okay, the government want to create a condition for the development of the poor people in society. That's what economic revolution. Next one, political revolution. You can see here, ending political corruption, decentralization of politics, and making public partner by giving them more rights there. Okay, clear? So we know that the time of Indira Gandhi's government, basically the government that converted into an autocratic type. Okay, clear or not? So almost all the, even the ministers in the cabinet also don't have the rights, or they don't have that much power to raise their voice against the ideas of Indira Gandhi. Okay, clear or not? So he decided what? We want to make a change in this kind of administration, this kind of administration. Even public also want to participate in the decision making. Clear or not? Clear? Don't let the government to turn as a what you can say, a dictatorial one or a fascist one, or a what we can say the other word what we are using against democracy. One said democracy, what other type of government? Okay, very good. Okay, it's autocratic government. Autocratic. Okay, clear. That's what his revolution related with the politics. Okay, political revolution. Finally, you can see here, not finally, the fourth point is cultural revolution. Cultural revolution there. Defending Indian culture and the regeneration of cultural values in a common man. So it is also connected with, we can say that the Deen Dayal Upadhyay is integral humanism. Integral humanism. Basically, these people give more stress to Hindutva, or reviving the ancient culture. Reviving the ancient culture, right? Okay. As per their idea, the Britishers, they ruined or destructed the Indian culture, want to give a new life for the particular culture, or revive the Hindu culture or ancient culture of India. That's what the idea of these people basically speaking. So, okay, next one, educational revolution. Educational revolution, making education occupational based, vocational based education. It's the idea of Gandhi too. Okay, so that's what the idea of Jayaprakash Narayan, and he tried to make some changes in the field of education, that's education system that existed in our country in that from those times there. Okay, next one, spiritual revolution. Developing moral and spiritual values and attaining materialism towards spirituality. Basically, people, they are running behind the material things, the material objects there. They want money, they have to purchase all these things. So he tried to convert this materialism into what? Spirituality, a kind of life that related with the religion, right? Next one, thought revolution. A revolution, the way of thinking. At the time of the French Revolution, we had about it. There are clubs are there. The clubs are basically termed as the clubs of thinkers, the Jacobin clubs, right? Studied or not? Hello, are you there? Ashish Benny, Grishma. Studied or not? In class 9, you studied about that. In class 10 also, you studied about the same thing there, the clubs of thinkers, right? Okay, you make a change in our thinking. Okay, we are able to make changes in our society, changes in our society. That's what the idea, right or not? So these 7 different types of revolutions together, we can call what? The total revolution by Ashish Benny. Total revolution by Ashish, are you there? Can you hear me? Hello? Ashish Benny. No voice. Ashish. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is together is termed as the total revolution by JP. Okay, Jayaprakash Narayan. Okay, what are the other names for JP? What are the other names? Who is one of the hero of Quit India movement? Who is the hero of Quit India movement? Grishma? Who is the hero of Quit India movement? Okay, Jayaprakash Narayan or J. Okay, so come back. Causes of total revolution. Basically fought against socio-economic, education, moral, and political maladies or diseases that exist in the Indian society. He gave his note on total revolution. We already know that. He wrote that in the book Prison Diary. Okay. Since independence, you observe there has been no real change in the social, economic, and political structure of the society. Okay. So already we know that there are numerous programs and policies are adopted by the government to eradicate poverty from the face of Indian society, right? What is that? Or what are they? Basically, the abolition of Zamindari system, Land Ceiling Act, pro-poor programs by Indira Gandhi's government. Okay, clear or not? But all these rules and regulations that just existed only in the paper. Okay, there is no benefit for the poor people. So he felt bad. Okay, JP felt bad, and basically he started the protest movement against Indira Gandhi's government in the year 1977. Okay, 1977. And yesterday I checked the papers there. That time I observed that many people made or committed mistake that related with the years there. Okay, dates there. So please, okay, note that. You know that he started the movement in the year 1977. 1977. Okay. So since independence, you observe there has been no real change in social, economic, political structure of the society. Zamindari system is abolished, as we know. Land reform laws has been passed. Untouchability has been legally prohibited, and so on. Like that, number of what you can say modernizing measures that are used by the government. Okay, but there is no result. Okay, there is no result. But villages in most parts of India is still in the grip of higher caste and bigger and medium landowners. Harijans were burnt alive. Adivasis are still in the most backward section, and money lenders still cheat and exploit Adivasis, right? Okay, there are numerous rules and regulations are there. Laws are there in the constitution. Provisions are there in the constitution to protect the poor farmers, to protect the SCs and STs, and protect the Adivasis. Like various rules and regulations are there that is existed in the constitution, still existing. Okay, clear or not? Then also he commented that there is no development for the people in the society. Basically, there is no development for the economically or socially backward people. Okay, economically or socially backward people, they face a lot of problem. Clear or not? Okay, even the low caste people are burned alive. Okay, the high caste people tried to dominate over the lower caste people, right? Yes or no? Okay, that's what he's finding there. Okay, so come back. Next one, in spite of nationalization, there is no element of right of socialism. There is no economic democracy, which is much talked about. Okay, the next point for us it is they nationalized the number of industries, nationalized the what you can say, even we can say that banks also even nationalized. Okay, but there is no result. Okay, people are unable to enjoy these benefits. Okay, there is no benefit for the people. The government made a number of changes, but there is no benefit for the people there. Okay, so right of socialism in the sense of benefit of socialism. Okay, they nationalized the banks, they nationalized the industries, but there is no benefit of, so it is not visible. The benefit of socialism is not visible. There is no economic democracy. Okay, which is much talked about. So the government is talking about the economical development, economical democracy, but there is no such things existing. Okay, the educational system in spite of several committees and the commissions remains basically what it was during the British rule. Okay, so educational system also almost like that only. There are number of commissions and committees were appointed by the governments. Okay, like the Britishers. We already studied about the Simon Commission, that commission, this commission, like that various commission that appointed by the British government to study about the Indian politics or Indian society, or to make changes in the Indian society. But there is no result. We know that, right? Like that, Indira Gandhi's government or the Congress government also appointed a number of this kind of commissions and committees, but there is no result. Clear? Clear or not? Okay, so all this provoked the JP. Okay. Since independence, there is a steady decline in the political, public, and business morality. Population growth goes racing forward. Poverty is also growing. More than 40% of the people are below poverty line. Okay, so what happened? Number of problems. Decline in political, public, and business morality. People lost the morality. They started doing things for their benefit. They are on self-development. Population growth grows racing forward. Population started rising like anything. Okay, more than 40% of the people are below poverty line. At the same time, nearly 40% of the Indian population under or below the poverty line. the basic necessities of the people are also not getting fulfilled. Okay, the basic necessity like food, shelter, clothing, that also people are unable to enjoy. They cannot enjoy that because there is no possibility to get all those things there. Therefore, there is a need of a systematic change in the society, that is a total revolution in every sphere and aspect of society. So he decided, okay, A to Z change is necessary. Okay, clear or not? Want to make a changes in a different field, not only one or two fields there. Here, basically, he discussed about 7 different revolutions, 7 different changes. Okay, all together we can call that a total revolution. Okay, is that clear or not? Is this idea clear or not? Is this idea clear or not? Hello. It's nothing serious, nothing serious. Okay, read it. Usually, you are able to understand that. Okay. Clear, nothing serious here. Okay, so this is very important for the examination. So I told you what is that, Jayaprakash Narayan, and it's a idea of total revolution. Idea of total revolution is very important for examination. Okay, again you can read it, and in doubt you can ask me. I'll explain it again, no problem. Okay, so coming to the conclusion here, Narayan spent. Don't write in examination like Narayanan, okay, like Malayali slang. Okay, don't use the Narayan. Here, Jayaprakash Narayan, that means only. Okay, so basically we will speak Jayaprakash Narayan. Okay, Narayan, that means only. Okay, spend the first 25 years of independence as the patron saint of lost causes. Okay, clear or not? So he basically, patron saint means what we can say, the protector. Okay, of lost causes. It basically lost its reason. Okay, what is that? The Praja Socialist Party. He became a member of that, and he basically gave importance for the Sarvodaya movement and the self-determination of Kashmir. So give importance for all these ideas. But basically, though all these things lost its importance, But he tried to protect all these things there. Oh, Jayaprakash Narayan. His most enduring contribution to the life of the Republic was the movement he led to unseat Mrs. Gandhi. Clear? Okay, the most important movement that led by JP is nothing but what is that? His activity to unseat Mrs. Gandhi is against Indira Gandhi, or make her away from the power. Okay, which provoked the emergency. So that led to the declaration of emergency in the year 1975. 1975 emergency. Okay, you know that. As the eminence grace of the Janata Party, the most important person of the Janata Party, the first non-Congress party to run the central government, he can take credit for catalyzing the political forces that sit in the prime of the Congress political decline. Okay, so he is the one, he is the most important person, the leader of a political party that emerged against Congress, and we can say that still Jayaprakash Narayan is considering as the catalyst, or the person who made a change or tried to created a problem for the Congress party, and still also Congress party facing that same issue there. Okay, he acted as a catalyst. Catalyst means a particular thing that what we are using to increase the chemical, or speed up the chemical process, like that. Okay, so Jayaprakash Narayan turned as a catalyst. Okay, that created lots of problem for the Congress party, and the Congress party faced a decline. Okay, so Narayan also wrote several books, notably Reconstruction of Indian Polity. He promoted Hindu revivalism, but was initially deeply critical of the form of revivalism promoted by the Sangh Parivar. Okay, clear? So he basically tried to promote Hindu revivalism. Okay, giving a new life or new birth for a Hindutva agenda or Hinduism. Okay, clear? But he's against the Sangha Parivar. Sangha Parivar in the sense the present RSS. Okay, BJP. That strong belief in the religion that will sometimes it will lead to communal violences. He is against that, but give importance for a Hindutva agenda. Hindutva agenda. I can give you 2 minutes to read it. Please do that. Okay, the next topic for us is Deen Dayal Upadhyaya and his idea of integral humanism. Integral humanism. Deen Dayal Upadhyaya. Okay, so Deen Dayal Upadhyaya is a leader. Basically, he's connected with the present day BJP. Okay, so the BJP is using this particular name, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya. Clear? as the founder leader of that particular party called the BJP. Okay, so Congress party, we know that there are numerous names are there connected with the Congress party, leaders, right? Or the person, those who people, those who participate in the national movement. Lots of leaders are there for the Congress party. You know that, right? Okay. Two, basically speaking, so giving more importance for Deen Dayal Upadhyay is nothing but there is there's no much leaders for this BJP to project. Okay, clear, as their founders or founding leaders or something like that. Okay, so they give more importance for Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Okay, that's what we want to read this from this textbook. Deen Dayal Upadhyay is an integral humanist. So Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, 25th September 1916, and died in the year 1968, the month of February, date 11, was an Indian politician and thinker of right-wing Hindutva ideology. So you got it, clear. So Deen Dayal Upadhyaya is related with the BJP. The idea of BJP is what is that? Hindutva. Okay, so he very much connected with that idea. Okay, Hindutva ideology espoused by Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh RSS. Okay, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, that is RSS. It's a organization, a religious organization, and it's acting as a pressure group and able to control the present BJP government. That's what RSS, a Hindutva agenda they are following. Okay, and the leader of political party Bharatiya Janasangh, BJS, Bharatiya Janasangh, a forerunner of Bharatiya Janata Party. Okay, so BJP is basically formed from this Bharatiya Janasangh. Clear or not? Okay, so Upadhyay's writing and speeches on the principles of policies of Bharatiya Janasangh, his philosophy of integral humanism. Okay, we want to discuss that in detail, and his vision for the rise of modern India. So integral humanism, everyone want to develop. So for that, there are a number of points, are there, number of aspects are there. Basically, he's discussing with the. So we will discuss that later. And he basically giving the idea integral humanism for development of everyone in the society, and his vision of the rise of modern India, develop or construct to create a modern India, constitute the most comprehensive articulation of what might be described as a BJP ideology. Clear? So the idea of Deen Dayal Upadhyaya is considering as the most important principles that following by BJP today, Bharatiya Janata Party today. Clear? Okay. In 1951, when Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee founded the Bharatiya Janasangh, okay, in 1951, okay, Deen Dayal became the first general secretary of its Uttar Pradesh branch. Okay, so who started this political party, Bharatiya Janasangh? It is Shyama Prasad Mukherjee in the year 1951. In the year 1951, okay, and Deen Dayal become the first general secretary of the Uttar Pradesh branch. So next, he was chosen as All India General Secretary. Within short years, he became the All India General Secretary of that particular political party, BJP. Sorry, Bharatiya Janasangh. The acumen and the meticulous shown by, I mean, acumen in the sense, ability to take fast judgments. Okay, meticulousness means what? Perfectly observing something and doing the activities called to be meticulous. Okay, so acumen and meticulousness shown by Deen Dayal, who deeply impressed Dr. Mukherjee and elicited his famous remark: "If I had two Deen Dayal." So Mukherjee, I mean, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee is very much impressed with the activities of Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, and he made a famous comment. What is this comment? If I had two Deen Dayals, I could transform the political face of India. Okay, he commented like this: if I had two Deen Dayal Upadhyayas, I am able to make changes in the face of Indian politics, it seems. Okay, after Dr. Mukherjee's death in the year 1953, okay, the entire burden of nurturing the orphaned organization. Okay, there is no leader now. Okay, because the leader died, and who's the next in charge? That's Deen Dayal. Okay, so he started taking care of that particular organization, and building it up as a nationwide movement fell on the young shoulders of Deen Dayal, Okay, so he started protecting this particular organization and tried to spread this particular organization, I mean, this political party everywhere in India. Okay, so he took that burden. For 15 years, he remained the outfit's general secretary and built it, okay, brick by brick. So Deen Dayal Upadhyay is the person who constructed this political party's strength brick by brick. Okay, one by one, step by step, he created. He raised the band of dedicated workers imbued with idealism and provided the entire ideological framework of his outfit. So he made a group of people, basically they are adopted or basically they inspired by the ideas of Deen Dayal Upadhyaya. Okay, so that's what BJP still using the idea of Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, Hindutva, or using the ancient culture to protect our India. Okay, so like that, various measures are there by the BJP. Okay, so that's able to fetch vote for that particular political party, right? The religious votes. Clear? Understand? That made BJP to rule the country today. Okay, the religious vote there, basically Hindutva agenda they are using, okay, to grab or to get vote from the Hindu majority. Clear? Basically, North India that is going on, where almost all other religions are basically termed as minorities, right? Minorities. Okay, so there is a great chance for this political party to gain vote only by speaking about religion. Clear? Understand? Or Hindutva agenda. Understand? So I'm not criticizing any political party. We want to understand the condition. Okay, it is bad or good, whatever it is. Okay, we will discuss it. Understand? Understand? We want to know all these things there. Okay, that's what basically this political party is saying. But the Congress party cannot do that because it's a secular party, right? It's a centrist party. Okay, I'm in support of Congress party too. Okay, so just understand all these things there. Okay, so that's it. 2 minutes for you people. You can read. Okay, that Deen Dayal Upadhyay is considered as the chief architect of the integral humanism. And what is this integral humanism? We're going to discuss that now. Okay, the chief architect of doctrine of integral humanism, Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay was a philosopher, sociologist, economist, and a politician. Okay, the philosophy presented by him is called integral humanism, which was intended to present an indigenous socio-economic model. So it's a socio-economic model. Nothing but what is that? Development of the society, development of the economy. Okay, right? Clear or not? Economy want to develop, and the society also want to develop, in which human being remains the center of development. So integral humanism means we want to achieve development. The society want to develop, clear or not? The society want to develop, at the same time we have to achieve economical development. In both this development, who want to play the center role? Human beings want to play the center role. Okay, that's what integral humanism. Okay, so development on the basis of what? Human activity. Okay, the aim of integral humanism is to ensure dignified life for every human being while balancing the needs of individual and society. Clear? So his idea, everyone want to develop, each and every individual want to achieve development, or they want to help to achieve their aspirations. Okay, and everyone want to lead a dignified life in the society. Okay, at the same time want to balance the needs of individual and the society. Clear or not? Development goal of the individual and society should not come to a conflict. There should not create a conflict there, right? Both want to develop. The society want to develop, and at the same time the individual also want to develop. Okay, their needs want to fulfill without creating any conflict. It supports sustainable consumption of natural resources so that those resources can be replenished. Okay, either person who advocated what is that? You can see here the word sustainable development. What is sustainable development? What is that? Sustainable development.
Development that should take place without damaging the environment.
Of course. Okay, just use of the resources, and at the same time want to keep an idea in your mind. The next generation also want to use the resources, right? We should not create any problem for the need of the next generation. They also want to utilize the resources. Okay, I want to use the resources with that concept. Okay, without damaging the environment, and the next generation also want to use the resources. So want to give time for replenishing, okay, regenerating the resources. Okay. So integral humanism enhances not only political but also economic and social democracy and freedom. It's giving importance for economical and the social democracy and the liberty, I mean freedom. As it seeks to promote diversity, is the best suited for a country as diverse as India. As per his idea, it is the best ideology. What is that? Integral humanism is the best ideology. Okay, because there are diverse developmental goals are there. It is suitable for a country like India with the diverse regions, diverse religions, diverse culture. Okay. The philosophy of integral humanism is based on the following three principles, sir. Okay. Primacy of whole, not part, supremacy of dharma, autonomy of the society. Okay. Primacy of the whole, not a part. Okay. Everyone wants to include in the activities there. Supremacy of dharma. We want to commit or we want to complete our duties perfectly. Autonomy of the society. The society is the final one who takes the decision what to do. Okay. Pandit Deendayal Upadhyaya opposed both the Western capitalist individualism and the Marxist socialism. He is against the capitalist individualism. Okay. So he's against the capitalism, basically speaking. So capitalism is the situation that basically creating opportunities for an individual to make money or create profit there. So he's against that idea. And the same time, Marxist socialism. Clear or not? Okay. Full-fledged activity of the proletarian class or working class against the what we can say enterprises or against the industries. He's against that also. So he's basically speaking. So he's not willing to adopt that ideology of capitalism and Marxist socialism. Okay, so he created an indigenous or Indian way of a new philosophy that's called to be integral humanism. Okay, it is not capitalism and it is not a socialism. Clear or not? But some aspects are included in that. Completely, we are unable to avoid this capitalism and socialism. Clear or not? So if you're thinking so, there is no pure capitalism anywhere in the world, right? There is no pure capitalism. There is no pure socialism. Is there or not? Either or not. For example, America is a capitalist country, right? Everyone will say that America is a capitalist country, but their people are paying taxes, right? Yes or no? Yes, the government is maintaining number of things there, right? Government is providing pensions for the people, right? Yes or no? Government controlling the life of the people in some instance, right? Yes or no? We cannot say that it's fully that people are enjoying capitalism, right? The people are paying taxes. Government is providing infrastructure facilities for the people. Okay, military is maintaining by the government. Police department is maintaining by the government. There's no private police stations, right? Yes or no? Understand? Clear. So that's it. That's it. Number of things are there like that. So, example, Russia is considering as a socialist country, right? Socialist country. Yes or no? Nowadays in Russia or in China also, they are giving importance for, they are giving chances for the private individuals to start industries there, right? Clear or not? Chances are there. And they are purchasing the things that are available in the international market. Okay, clear. Not only the things that produced by the government, but they are able to purchase the things that are produced by other countries, capitalist countries also. So there is no pure capitalism or no pure socialism existing anywhere. That's what we are using that technique. What is that? Mixed economy. Okay, half socialism, half what is that? Capitalism. Let it be. Okay. Come back. So according to Deendayal Upadhyaya, capitalist and socialist. Sorry, the time is already 9:20. So please take a screenshot up to here and write it. Anyway, you can take a full screenshot, no problem. But right up to here. Done. Okay, please read all those things here properly. What we discussed today, please read it properly and from the textbook also, and we will meet in the next session. Thank you.